Hello there folks, Steve Turgoose here. Today out for a little stroll, nice fresh air, nice little bit of a chat. I don't see myself as like kind of an advisor or anything, but I've been around the block and gathered a bit of experience, so I do like to share that wisdom if it's of any use, you know, if it's any use. And I got a question recently about family ties. You know, what do I think of family ties? And yeah, family ties. And I thought this was one of the interesting questions, considering the situation now, sort of like on my channel and things. And I think it's quite relevant. So, and family ties. The instant thing I thought about is like the ties, the rope. Is it a noose, or is it a safety line? And if we use the analogy of rock climbing, you have a leader who ties the rope and goes up first, and then you have a belay man who's at the bottom, who holds the rope. The leader then puts in anchors in the form of wedges in the rocks or loops around rocks or pitons, and as he climbs he will leave anchors so that he doesn't fall all the way to the floor. And so the belay man's holding the rope. So the belay man always has to give him enough slack rope that he can move, but not too much that he falls all the way down. The other possibility of climbing is to climb without the rope and just solo, which means that if you fall, you die, basically. But when you're soloing, you're very much more in control. There's not a lot of possibility of climbing back down. In fact, most tragedies happen when climbers try and descend. So family ties. When I was a kid, we used to go rock climbing as a family, and as we was a part of a club, and friends and family. We used to go out at weekends camping and climbing and walking and caving. We didn't have much money in the 70s, and so we always made the best of what we could, made our own clothes out of curtains, and went out and enjoyed the countryside. Looking back now, what amazes me is how my mother and father were in that situation, especially when me and my two brothers, when we went rock climbing, when we was out just as kids, just climbing around on boulders, really high up and stuff. My mother would be, of course, she'd be afraid, but she knew, because they'd always given us that freedom, she knew that we knew what we was doing. And my father always like supported that, you know, always helped us up and taught us how to climb with a rope and taught us knots and safety and everything, but still allowed us to just choose our own decision, to make our own choices. We was allowed to use knives and make fires. We was empowered as very, very young children. I can't remember how old I was, but as old as I can remember, we was empowered to do what we wanted to do. Funnily enough, when, you know, kids are pretty resilient anyway, so we was pretty safe. But looking back, I just think it's insane, really. We used to just drink out the rivers without purifying the water, and we'd just walk through fields of animals and bulls, and you know, just learned that nothing was dangerous. Now I see that as like, you know, a total privilege that I've had of having such a family that isn't wanting to tell you what to be afraid of all the time, intimidating you with their fears. Because I'm afraid for my family, I'm afraid for my brothers and my mother and father and relatives and all the family. You know, to me, everybody I meet in life becomes family, brothers and sisters, because I get an empathy for people straight away. And so even if they don't want to admit it, I'm there. To me, they're my brother and sister, and so they become family. The word family, looking at it, I suppose it's familiar. Anything that's familiar. You know, even if you've got a dog and it's scared, that fear can jump over to you because the dog's, you're familiar to the dog. And mothers and fathers and people who are the closest to you can be the most fearful for you and want you to do well, want you to be proud, want them to be proud of you, want you to get a good job and career and gain a status and get a higher class in life. And I suppose that's an automatic default thing that parents or guardians or would want their children or whatever to be good. That expectation is often the problem. The expectations we have of others, me wanting you to see the world a certain way. That is where the problem begins, because you know, if you're using a knife, you know about that knife, but if you're watching somebody else use a knife, it always looks far more dangerous than it really is. And you always underestimate other people's kind of abilities in certain ways. I don't want to generalise, I'm not saying everybody here. You know, there's a massive danger when I'm talking on my own just to generalise. But it is general that people look for the solutions outside of themselves, you know. So with family ties, obviously, if I was to say to you, you know, just leave, like, cut yourself free, it doesn't work like that, because if you're leading and you're holding a child or somebody who needs you on the end of that rope, then you're cutting their safety line, you know, you're putting them at massive danger. But you have to ask whether they really want to go up the same way as you. You know, there's a lot of different ways up the mountain. Some are more exciting, some are more relaxing, some more majestic, some are more photogenic, some, you know, so it's really a matter of taste and choice, and different people are different sizes, so some climbs are harder to people, some than others. You know, some need more muscle, some need more balance. And so climbs are very, very, very individual. You know, paths in life are very, very individual. I know myself, if I'd have had, like, my family always telling me what to do, I would not have been able to make this channel. It would have been insane. You know, as it is now, my family are able to watch. Maybe a lot of you are watching out there, family members. And I have to kind of rise above that tie of thinking, oh, you're going to be upset with me if I swear and shout about the government and point fingers at people, you know. But I have to rise above that in order to make this piece of art, to transcend the unknown, you know, to get above that, what other people don't know. And how can anybody else know where my path is going to lead me? Obviously, people who are higher than you can like, you know, give you wisdoms and stuff. But at some point, you have to discern between what's advice and what somebody else wants or think is right for you. And to me, I always fall into the trap of listening too much to the people I like and love. But you have to kind of question that really quite a lot. You know, is this a true relationship, or is this a binding relationship between me and all of my family, all of my familiars? Is that's, you know, I was talking about, like, say, a divine voice, or if you like, the connection to God. You can either serve God or you can serve man, and obviously we do both. But we have to question whether there's something standing in the way of that connection to Source, Spirit, God, whatever, the divine, the Creator. For me, this connection is really important, so important that the connection to God or divine or Spirit, this is a really, really, really important thing for my life. And I don't like to push it or preach it onto other people, because it's, anyway, a concept that's not speakable. But it means so much to me that I do get passionate about it on purpose, and I do upload the videos on purpose, because I feel that if anybody's, like, I don't underestimate other people's ability. I don't want to underestimate you as a viewer by lessening my words, leaving out things, trying to make it sound nice. I don't really need to do that. Although I do, and I'll go into that later, I do like to control my behaviour in a way that's advantageous to everybody. And on this video, you know, I'm talking to a camera, and there's a tendency for me to talk to myself. And so what you get in is the contents of my mind. And normally I would not speak my mind, you know, but because you're probably an individual watching this, then you can relate to me speaking my mind. And so I don't want to give the impression that, you know, you should just go around speaking your mind to people. Not at all. You know, you're better off not doing that. As you've seen on video, it doesn't transfer well. And that's the problem often. You know, when a parent wants the child to get on in life and to do this and to do that and to be successful, you know, it's just the parent speaking. And I, as the son of the mother, I, as a son, it's up to me to listen or not listen. It's not up to my parents to stop telling me what to do. It's up to how I perceive that and how I change it. Family ties, if you look at it like rock climbing, if you question a tie, you know, is that tie just out of fear? Is it actually, is the person pulling me down? Am I pulling them down? Is it really useful? Is it really necessary? Or is it just this kind of family moral obligation? So really, to put like a closing statement on this video, really, I don't know if I've covered any of the points at all. I've just spoken for a bit. But my conclusion is, if my parents want to be proud of me, then I have to, if that was the case, if there's any value in that whatsoever, that I want to make my parents happy of me, which I think is important actually, in a way, you know, that my parents can see that what they've done is good. And let's face it, why do I want to be a bad person in life? You know, wouldn't it be, it's obviously a virtuous thing to want to be a good person. And so that good person is somebody that my parents would have to accept, you know. Whoever or whatever I was, as long as I'm happy and proud of myself, then my parents have got every reason to be happy and proud of me. And if I make myself proud, pride's maybe not quite the right word. If I'm fulfilling my life, if my life's fulfilled and I'm living the way I want to live and it's making me happy and it's making other people happy, then the parents should be able to see that in time. If not, if you try and make your parents happy, then eventually you won't be happy and it won't succeed the goal, you see. It's not really about parents, it's about family in general. If you listen too much to family, there's a tendency to dilute yourself, to dilute your own, to try and please others. And so it has to be looked at more like rock climbing, like safety. You know, is that person trying to care for me or trying to control me? Is that person giving me advice? Or is that person giving me their fears? Now, it's not about then telling them, oh, I've noticed, you know, I've noticed what you're doing, change now. You know, my opinion isn't really to change people, it's to change myself and then turn the world inside out and then show people how that me, not the new me or the old me, it's just me now. I'm ever changing, ever growing. And so I can choose the me I want to choose. Which means that that I can choose a side of me that people can be happy with. And that I can be happy with. You know, and that is useful. And you can't do more. You can't really do more for your family than just be true to yourself and to listen. Listen to the advice and listen to the care, but not have the obligation to follow it, and to indicate to the other person that you're thankful, but that you might not follow the advice, maybe, that you've listened. Because all we want to be is listened, really. Everybody just wants to be listened to, I think, and hopefully understood. So yeah, family ties, they can be a good thing, they can be a bad thing, but if you just look at them, I think you can pretty much discern between the ones that are like safety and the ones that are fear, and that's all I can say about it. But from my own point of view, I'm really pleased that my family just let me take the risks that I have to take, don't try and understand me, and it's a mutual thing. It works fine. It works fine. We don't have to telephone it all the time. We don't have to talk and speak about stuff. There's a kind of a knowing there, and some of you may be able to relate to that. Not everybody gets the look that others have with the parents, but at the same time, you know, if you've got really bad, nasty childhood, you can still make something of it. You know, sometimes the worst situation makes the best people. And often the best families, or the ones that seem the best, with the most money and the most privileges and the most like future, and the parents can pass down the family business. That I think in a general it's a hard place for those children to grow up in, with that type of inheritance, to inherit the entire religion and property and contents of the past. So for me it's about freedom, freeing myself up from ties, but not letting people fall, always offering a safety line and seeing ties as a safety thing rather than as a bind. Okay, that's about it for this. I could go on forever, but yeah, I think that's good. Have a good time, see you later.